Va'etchanan. Sixth portion, Deuteronomy 6 verses 4 to 25. Parshat Va'etchanan. Sixth portion, Deuteronomy 6 verses 4 to 25. Deuteronomy chapter 6. For hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. The Lord is our God, the Lord is one, the Lord, who is now our God and not the God of the other nations he will be, declared, in the future the one God, as it is said, for then I will convert the peoples to a pure language that all of them call in the name of the Lord, Zephaniah 3 verse 9, and it is, also, said, on that day will the Lord be one and his name one, Zechariah 14 verse 9. See Sifri 5. And you shall love the Lord, your God, with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your means. And you shall love the Lord, perform his commandments out of love. The one who acts out of love cannot be compared to the one who acts out of fear. If one serves his master out of fear, when the master sets a great burden upon him, this servant will leave him and go away, whereas if out of love he will serve him even under great burden. Sifri 6:5. With all your heart, Heb, the double veth in, instead of the usual form, suggests love him with your two inclinations, the good and the evil. Sifri br. 54a. Another explanation, with all your heart, is that your heart should not be divided, i.e., at variance, with the omnipresent, Sifri. And with all your soul, even if he takes your soul, Sifri br. 54a, 61a. And with all your means, Heb, with all your possessions. There are people whose possessions are more precious to them than their own bodies. Therefore, it says, and with all your means. Sifri. Another explanation of is, you shall love God with whatever measure he metes out to you, whether it be the measure of good or the measure of retribution. Thus also did David say, I will lift up the cup of salvations, and I will call upon the name of the Lord. Psalms 116 verses 12 to 13. I found trouble and grief, and I called out in the name of the Lord. Psalms 116 verses 3 to 4. 6. And these words, which I command you this day, shall be upon your heart. And these words shall be, what is this love, referred to in the previous verse? It is that these words, the mitzvot, shall be upon your heart, and through this, you will come to recognize the Holy One, blessed be he, and will, consequently, cling to his ways. Sifri 6:6. Which I command you this day, they should not appear to you as an antiquated edict, which no one cares about, but as a new one, which everyone hastens to read. The word means, a royal edict which comes in writing, Sifri 7. And you shall teach them to your sons and speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk on the way, and when you lie down and when you rise up. And you will teach them, Heb. This is an expression of sharpness, meaning that these words should be sharply impressed in your mouth, so that if a person asks you something, you will not have to hesitate about it, but you will tell him immediately. Sifri Kid 30a. To your sons, these are your disciples. We find everywhere that disciples are termed sons, as it is said, you are children to the Lord your God, Deuteronomy 14 verse 1, and it says, the disciples, lit. Sons, of the prophets who were in Bethel, 2 Kings 2 verse 3. So too, we find that Hezekiah taught Torah to all Israel and called them children, as it is said, my sons, now do not forget, 2 Chronicles 29 verse 11. And just as disciples are called children, as it is said you are children to the Lord your God, so too, the teacher is called father, as it is said, that Elisha referred to his teacher Elijah by the words, my father, the chariot of Israel. 2 Kings 2 verse 12, Sifri 6:7. And speak of them, that your principal topic of conversation should be only about them, make them the main topic, not the secondary one. Sifri. And when you lie down, now this, latter verse, might lead one to think, that the obligation to recite the Shema is, even if one lies down in the middle of the day. Therefore it states, and when you rise up, now this, latter verse, might lead one to think, that the obligation to recite the Shema is, even if you arise in the middle of the night. It says therefore, when you sit in your house, and when you walk on the way. The Torah is thus speaking of the usual manner of conduct, the usual time of lying down and the usual time of rising up. Sifri 8. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be for ornaments between your eyes. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, these are the tefillin of the arm. And they shall be for ornaments between your eyes, heb. These are the tefillin of the head, and because of the number of the scriptural sections contained in them, namely 4, they are called totaphoth, for tad in Coptic means 2, path in Afriki, Phrygian, also means 2. San. 4b. 9. And you shall inscribe them upon the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. The doorposts of your house, the word is, and not, i.e., without the letter vav, to indicate that there is need for only one mezuzah per door. And upon your gates, this gates is to include the gates of courtyards, the gates of provinces, and the gates of cities, in that they also require a mezuzah. Yoma 11a. 10. And it will be, when the Lord, your God, brings you to the land he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give you great and good cities that you did not build. 11. And houses full of all good things that you did not fill, and hewn cisterns that you did not hew, vineyards and olive trees that you did not plant, and you will eat and be satisfied. Hewn, since it, the land of Israel, was a stony and rocky place, the term hewn is appropriate, regarding the cisterns there. 12. Beware, lest you forget the Lord, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Out of the house of bondage, heb, lit. Out of the house of slaves. As the Targum, Onkelos, renders, out of the house of slavery, i.e., out of the place where you were slaves, and not the house that belonged to slaves. 13. You shall fear the Lord, your God, worship him, and swear by his name. And swear by his name, if you possess all the attributes mentioned here, that you fear his name and serve him, then you may swear by his name, for if you fear his name, you will be cautious with your oath, but if you do not, you must not swear by his name. 14. Do not go after other gods, of the gods of the peoples who are around you. Of the gods of the peoples who are around you, the same applies to the gods of those peoples who are distant from you, but, because you see those who are around you erring after them, it was necessary to warn you especially about them, i.e., the gods of the people close to you. 15. For the Lord, your God, is a zealous God among you, lest the wrath of the Lord, your God, be kindled against you, and destroy you off the face of the earth. 16. You shall not try the Lord, your God, as you tried him in Massah. In Massah, when they went out of Egypt, when they tested him concerning water, as it is said, that they asked, Is the Lord among us or not? Exodus 17 verse 7, hence Massah means test. 17. Diligently keep the commandments of the Lord, your God, and his testimonies, and his statutes, which he has commanded you. 18. And you shall do what is proper and good in the eyes of the Lord, in order that it may be well with you, and that you may come and possess the good land which the Lord swore to your forefathers. What is proper and good? This refers to compromising, acting beyond the strict demands of the law. 19. To drive out all your enemies from before you, as the Lord has spoken. To drive out all your enemies, as the Lord has spoken, and where did he speak? When he said, And I will confuse all the people. Exodus 23 verse 27. 20. If your son asks you in time to come, saying, What are the testimonies, the statutes, and the ordinances, which the Lord our God has commanded you? If your son asks you in time to come, heb, the word, which usually means tomorrow, may also mean at a later time. 21. You shall say to your son, We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and the Lord took us out of Egypt with a strong hand. 22. And the Lord gave signs and wonders, great and terrible, upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household, before our eyes. 23. And he brought us out of there, in order that he might bring us and give us the land which he swore to our fathers. 24 And the Lord commanded us to perform all these statutes, to fear the Lord, our God, for our good all the days, to keep us alive, as of this day. 25 And it will be for our merit that we keep to observe all these commandments before the Lord, our God, as He has commanded us.